Hi there, this is Jenny Weeb from VANGY Knits, and today we're going to sew our pockets onto our Harvey cardigan. You should have already knit and blocked the pocket so that that pleat lays flat, and we're going to sew it right on. The first thing you're going to do is take a spare yarn and mark where your pocket's going to be. So you're just going to start, for this size, 2 stitches in from the button band. And just start anywhere above where the pocket will lie, and you go in and out through the stitches all the way down to 5 stitches above the ribbing. You're gonna go across at that 5 stitch mark, again just in and out of every other or so stitch. All the way across the front here. And pull it through. Now in the case for this size 2 pocket, you're going to do 2 less than the amount of stitches on your flap. So I had 18 stitches on my flap. I'm going to count across 16 stitches therefore on the bottom of the sweater. Then I'm going to just do what I did on the right side and go up, follow a line up, all the way to the top. And as you can see now, we've marked out very nicely where that pocket will go. I'm going to thread some of the yarn back on my darning needle, and underneath the flap at the top corner, I'm going to do a few stitches just to secure that yarn, and we're going to start sewing it on. It's nice to be able to do it under the flap so it won't be seen. So once we've done that, we're going to come out right at the top where the flap begins, right in the corner, and you're going to line it up. Now the way that I count this up is from the ribbing, I count up as many stitches, as many rows as there were in the pocket. So for the size 2, I knit 32 rows of stockinette, so I counted up 32 rows, and that's where I began. So the way that you seam this on, you want the edges, the selvage, to curl under or be turned under. So we're going to come between the first and the second stitch on the pocket, and we're going to pick up the bar between those 2 stitches by going down through the front of the pocket and then back up on the other side of that bar. Then when you move over to the sweater, you're going to do the same. You're going to go down between the 2 stitches and up, and then you're going to move back over to the pocket. So you're just going to go back and forth down the same place that you had come up on your pocket, and then down the same place you'd come up on the sweater, moving back and forth between the pocket and the sweater. And what it will do, it will just create a seamless join between the pocket and the sweater. There you go, down through the, pick up the bar between stitches on the pocket, and then do the same on the sweater. I'm just kind of pushing that, the contrast yarn that I put in there to mark out of the way. We'll pull it out at the end. I'm just pushing it out of the way as I go, but I keep it there to make sure that I'm staying on track. Every 6 or so stitches, just give it a little snug pull. Don't pull it too tight or you'll have it pucker, but give it a snug pull so it's the same tension as the rest of your sweater, and you'll see how neatly the pocket is seaming onto the sweater. When you get to the corner, you're just going to turn the corner and begin doing the same sort of thing across the bottom. Except for in this instance, instead of taking the bar between the stitches, you're actually going to pick up an entire stitch. So you're going to go on the pocket, just up from where you cast off, you're going to pick up a stitch. So you're going to go under both bars of the stitch and across, and then you're going to go down and do the same thing on the stitch on the sweater. Now when I put the marking yarn in there, I put it at 5 rows above, but you should be even with 4 rows. And the reason I did that is so that the marking yarn wouldn't get in the way while I was trying to pick up these stitches. Now, it doesn't really matter if you're 4 or you're 3 or you're 6 or you're 5, as long as both sides are even. Anywhere in there should be okay. I did find it took me a bit to figure out exactly where that would end up, and depending on, if you start at the same point at the top, you might be a couple rows off, but that really shouldn't matter in the end, as long as on both sides you do the same thing. So we pick up a stitch from the right side of the pocket, going through both bars of the stitch, and then on the sweater below we do the same thing by picking up both bars of the stitch on the sweater below. And what this does is it makes it look like it's just been picked up straight from the sweater and knit. And it should just be a seamless look, the same as the side. Now as we get to the next edge, you'll see that I'm actually quite off my marker. And that's because when I was counting it, I was actually looking at the wrong size on my pattern. And so I counted 18 stitches across and I only needed 16. So I'm actually 2 stitches across. So don't worry about that. As long as you counted, you took 2 off of your flap number, yours should line up. But again, as long as you start in the same place up in that top right hand corner, you should end up even on both sides here. So we do the same thing on the way up. We pick up the bar between the stitches going up, and we move over to the pocket, and we're going between the first and the second stitch on the pocket, and we're picking up the bar between the 2 stitches. We go to the sweater, pick up the bar between the 2 stitches, go to the pocket, just back and forth all the way up to the top corner of the sweater. You are going to want to, every 6 or so stitches again, just pull it snug and make sure it looks good. And then once you get up to the top corner, you're just going to again do a few stitches underneath the flap to secure it. If you want, you can also tack down the corners of your flap if you don't like that flappy look. I kind of like it. It gives it more of an old man feel. But if you don't like that, as you're going across where the flap is, you can tack it down. Clip that. Then we're going to pull out that spare yarn and take a look at our beautifully seamed pocket. As you can see on the back, you can just barely see those seams on the side, nothing across the bottom. And when you take a look at the front, It's just gorgeously seamed and seamless on the sides and the bottom. So the last thing we need to do is to sew on the button. And in order to do this, I'm using yarn to do it because I've got these toggles with such generous holes. And you're going to sew it between both thicknesses of the flap and the pocket. Don't sew it through the sweater or else you won't have access to your pocket, but you are going to permanently sew down that flap. What I like to do when I do this is to sew both sides of that pleat on the inside together, which just gives it a little more structure on the front side. So you're going to go through the toggle and pick up one side of the pleat, and then go across and catch the other side of the pleat and just do a few really secure stitches. Once that's done, you will have your entire Harvey sweater completed, and there it is.